Did you ever go to counseling with Kody and Robyn to try to fix anything?
Like, no, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All these things that how you feel. I think it's going to be so much easier for you just to move on and get past everything and really release.
I remember at least the first couple of years, I'm like, I don't even want to think about it. And now I'm kind of like, okay, what do I need to do here to like finally really put this, like end this like completely? I just need to make sure all the little pieces are in place.
Hi besties. Welcome back to my channel. Janelle Brown is about to go on a mission to get herself spiritually released from Kody Brown. Now, the irony of all this is that Janelle is planning to go to leaders at the Church of the Apostolic United Brethren, even though the very leader who is supposed to give her this release is currently wrapped up in a lawsuit with his own ex-spiritual wife. She claims she's been trying to get a release from him for decades and is battling him over property she says he stole from her. So here we are, Janelle is seeking a spiritual release from a prophet who refuses to release his own wife. We'll dive into all of that, and while Janelle prepares for Kody to make his way back into her life, she receives a warning from her daughter, Maddie, who reminds her that maybe Kody is only showing up to stir up chaos once again. Kody has impeccable timing when it comes to Janelle, and he has spent years and years finding ways to pull her back in. Now, Kody claims today that he has zero interest in being in polygamy. He insists he's totally done and would never consider it again. But in this episode, he decides he's going to apologize to all of the women to set them free, even though they've already been free for quite some time. I believe Kody is doing this for the storyline, for damage control, for his ego, and also to save his marriage with Robyn. I always find it interesting how Janelle's extended family is framed as if they were the unreasonable ones, when in reality they were simply concerned about the woman they loved getting involved in a dangerous religious group. They cared about her safety, and for good reason, so why were they so concerned? Well, let me explain. Let's do a quick history lesson. Janelle and Adam Barber got together in 1988. This was during a period of significant violence within polygamous sects in Utah and across the western United States. In 1978, the leader of the Apostolic United Brethren was literally pew-pewed. His life was taken by two spiritual wives acting under the orders of a self-proclaimed prophet named Freefall. Freefall was based in Mexico and led a breakaway group founded by his brother. After splitting from his brother Joel, he decided that any man claiming to be a prophet who wasn't actually a prophet needed to be eliminated. He believed in blood atonement, the idea that certain sins could not be forgiven through the death of Jesus Christ alone. According to this twisted belief system, followers had the spiritual right, even the obligation, to take another person's life if they believed that person had committed a grievous sin that Christ's sacrifice couldn't atone for. So Freefall launched a violent campaign, targeting leaders of other polygamous groups he believed were unworthy. And he justified it all through his interpretation of fundamentalist doctrine. Mr. Freefall decided he was going to go on a war path. And he was determined to get rid of every single man he viewed as a false prophet. During his lifetime, he took out his own brother Joel, and another brother died mysteriously in a car accident. He orchestrated the killing of Rulon Allred, and although he was ultimately convicted in connection to Rulon's death, several of the wives involved were later acquitted. It's an incredibly tangled and disturbing story, but eventually he died in prison. Now, after he died in prison, his followers discovered his writings and teachings, and they clung to them. Freefall had created an extensive list of people he believed needed to be atoned through blood, essentially a hit list. His followers, many of them young and fully indoctrinated, internalized these writings and took it upon themselves to continue fulfilling his violent plans even after his death. He was known as a compulsive writer, someone who stayed awake through the night crafting pages and pages of doctrine and instruction. A couple of years ago, I interviewed his daughters, Anna and Celia LeBaron. They shared their experiences growing up under his shadow. They didn't know him well, but they remembered how obsessively he wrote and how the younger followers absorbed those writings as scripture. These followers acted out those teachings, carrying out the violent commands he had laid out long after he was gone. So when Janelle entered this community, she was stepping into a group already deeply affected by violent faction wars. And it escalated even further in June of 1988 in Texas. followers of Ervil decided it was time to finish his hit list, to take out the people he had identified as enemies. These coordinated attacks happened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at multiple locations. The victims were defectors, former members of the sect who had left, and they were targeted under the doctrine of blood atonement. At the same time, within the Allred group, Rulon Allred had been killed in 1978, and leadership had passed to Owen Allred. When Janelle decided to join, the church was dealing with horrifying revelations. Certain leaders claimed they were literal descendants of Jesus and believed their bloodline had to remain pure. To maintain this supposed purity, some men were committing incest, and let's be clear, this wasn't relations, this was assault. Another leader was discovered using medical procedures, specifically colonics, as a way to assault both men and women. Multiple men in the group were accused, which led to a massive exodus in the late 80s, the 90s, and into the 2000s. Then, in the late 90s in Utah, at the Bluffdale Church, a man had his throat slit during a church meeting, yet another act carried out under the twisted idea of blood atonement. This attack happened at the very church that Janelle attended. Not long after Janelle joined the AUB, one of the brethren, Gustavo Palacios, was arrested for assaulting his stepdaughters as part of that same blood purity doctrine. His wife, who happened to be Christine Brown's first cousin, was arrested as well for helping him and allowing it to happen. Around this same period, a woman named Virginia Hill sued the Apostolic United Brethren, claiming they had embezzled more than $1 million from her and used it to buy property the group still owns today. Owen Allred was implicated in those allegations as well. So yes, Janelle's family had very real reasons to fear for her safety. They may have distanced themselves partly to protect themselves, but also because the mainstream LDS Church strongly opposes polygamy. I want to make this crystal clear, her family wasn't evil or judgmental for stepping back. These groups have a long history of manipulation, coercion, violence, and even kidnapping. Their fears were rational. Even now, Janelle still somewhat defends her involvement in the group, though she's finally discussing the possibility of leaving. She said she entered the lifestyle feeling so idealistic, thinking, oh, this is going to be amazing. But the conflict started almost immediately. And she began to realize things were very different than she expected. She never had an exit plan. She felt fully committed to her faith and determined to make it work. I'm sharing all of this because when people convert into these groups, they often become more zealous and committed than those born into them. Converts choose the doctrine themselves and therefore double down, while people who grow up in these environments eventually see the cracks, recognize the lies, and leave. But when someone joins later in life... Hi besties! Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about Janelle Brown and her journey to finally get a spiritual release from Kody Brown. Now, here's the irony, Janelle is going to the leaders of the Church of the Apostolic United Brethren to get this release, while the very leader granting it, Prophet Dave Watson, is currently being sued by one of his own plural wives. She claims she's been trying for years to get a release from him and is also fighting him over property that he claims she has no stake in. So Janelle is essentially being freed by a man who refuses to release his own wife. The layers here are wild. Janelle has been thinking about Kody's return into her life. Her daughter Maddie even warns her, maybe Kody is just showing up to create chaos again. And if there's one thing to know about Kody, it's that he has impeccable timing with Janelle. He's spent years manipulating his way back into her life. In this episode, Kody claims he has zero interest in polygamy now. He says he's done for good and would never go back. And yet, he decides he wants to apologize to all his ex-wives to set them free, even though they are already free. Honestly? This feels like it's about ego, damage control, and saving his marriage with Robyn, not about them. Janelle, on the other hand, is finally in a place where she wants a spiritual release, but it took some convincing from Mary for her to seriously consider it. When asked if she would ever go to counseling with Kody or Robyn, Janelle says outright, no, I don't like them. There's no point. Legally, there's no marriage or divorce needed here. The spiritual release is what severs the covenant of marriage in her faith. Her friends have been trying to encourage her to move on, but Janelle is still mentally tied to Kody because of the spiritual relationship they shared. When she married him in the EUB temple, they received a blessing connecting them for time and all eternity. According to the teachings, even if women are abandoned or separated, they are supposed to stay celibate and faithful to reach the celestial kingdom. Janelle admits she still feels like Kody's wife, and until she gets this spiritual release, she can't fully move on. She wants to make sure that if her religion is true and she wakes up in heaven, she won't be stuck married to him. She said, "I just need to make sure all the little pieces are in place. I think it's time to really cut all those ties with Kody. Whether I imagine it's there or I feel it, I need to make sure it's fully severed. What if my religion is right and I wake up in heaven married to him? Hell no, I'm not having that happen." Interestingly, Janelle is one of the only women on the show, besides maybe Robyn, who still refers to it as her religion. Kody says he doesn't believe anymore. Mary is crystal clear, she has zero belief in the system, will never do polygamy again, and doesn't feel obligated to live a faith she doesn't believe in. Christine also doesn't consider it her faith anymore. Janelle, however, still calls it her religion, which shows how deeply ingrained it is for her. It'll take a long time to let go, if she ever does. Now, she did get the release. Kody revealed on Nick Viall's podcast that 2 of his wives received releases, including Janelle. But to get it, she had to go to the brethren and request it. And, again, the man granting it, Prophet Dave Watson, is facing serious accusations from his own wife, Cherilyn. Abandoned her, locked her out of property, spent all his time with his favorite wife, didn't contribute to the family, and kept the money from businesses she helped run. She's been trying to get a release for years, but he refuses. There are even allegations of child abuse and physical abuse, so yes, Janelle got her release, but from a man doing the exact same thing to his own wife that Kody did to her. Dave claims he has 8 wives, but that's false. Several have left, and the one who remains doesn't want to be there, but he won't let her go. The irony here is almost unbelievable. Janelle has gone back to a cult whose prophet's own wife is fighting for the same release she just got. I wish there were an easy way for these women to see the truth, but the indoctrination and manipulation are so deep, so constant, and so coercive. It taps into faith, salvation, insecurities, and even promises of godhood. Letting go of all of that is not easy. Despite the red flags and abuse she faced, Janelle gave up so much for her faith, thinking she was on the righteous path. She was willing to overlook abuse, even from Mary and Kody, because she believed in the system. Now, at least, she has the release. Hopefully, she can stay out for good, settle in North Carolina, and finally move forward with her life. Her family tried to help her years ago, and now she's free, from Kody and, arguably, from a man worse than him. What are your thoughts, besties? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.